The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Pleasant Hill and Goshen, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 33862. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We're going to get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus, starting just on the front bumper. On the face of the front bumper, passenger and driver side, you'll find dual air horns. Moving over to the driver side face of the bumper, you'll find your siren and also PA speaker system. Let's move up onto the top of the bumper extension, where you'll find on the passenger side a remote turret. Just inside of that location, you'll find a tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. Moving just over to the right in the image, driver side, you'll find a swivel discharge for your front bumper. Let's move up on to the face of the vehicle, where you'll find 2 forward-facing emergency lights just on each side of the Pierce logo. And as we move to the headlight, you'll find low and high beam headlights with turn indicators. Let's take a look at some close-ups, first starting with a combination of the siren and air horn. Moving to the passenger side, where you'll find your turret. And then moving all the way around, let's take a look from the side here, where we can see the bumper extension emergency warning light. These are on passenger and driver side, and then also a quick view of your swivel discharge. Looking downward into the tubbed storage area, you have dry deck material on the very bottom, and here's a close-up now of your front bumper discharge. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the front grille. You'll see the 2 warning lights forward-facing and the Pierce logo. Let's move now down to the front tire, where you'll find you have Alcoa wheels and Michelin tires. Let's move back up onto the side of the apparatus, where you'll find first a turn marker indicator just over the front wheel. As we move upward from this location, you'll find the air inlet for the engine. And then moving to the very back of the fender area is where you'll find the release mechanism, which allows you to tilt the hood. Let's take a look at the side of the apparatus. First, let's start in the upper left-hand corner. This is an air inlet. Moving just to the right of that, you'll find your auto eject plug. And then moving just down to the aluminum bright color silver fill location, this is your ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. And the black ABS plastic blue cap is your DEF fill location. Just a close-up here of the air inlet on the left-hand side, and also your 20 amp auto eject shoreline inlet. Let's move now to the door panel. You'll find these warning labels on all points of entry for personnel. You'll also find on the driver's side the master battery switch. Also in the upper corner, when plugged into shore power, you'll find that this battery charging system is activated. And then also the placard here in yellow, which we'll talk about in a moment, comfort controls for the seat. Let's take a look at the battery switch, simple right to left turn for on and off. When plugged into shore power, your battery charging system will activate. Here is the display representing the battery charge system. Also in front of the console, you'll find your switch for your engine heater. As we move to the base of the seat, you'll find your manufactured by Pierce for your department. This has information on it like the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, your VIN number, and then all of the different fluid and capacity types. Let's move to the dash now. At about the left knee of the operators, where you'll find your keyed ignition switch. Just to the right of that keyed ignition switch, you'll find a green indicator indicating that your battery is on and also that you've engaged the ignition. Moving up to the very top, we've got 4 switches here. First, your speed control. As we move downward, we're going to have a set, excel, and coast switch. We also have headlights and running lights. And down at the very bottom, we have an increase or decrease switch for that speed control. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll find this black placard indicating the height, length, and gross vehicle weight ratings of your vehicle. If you make any adjustments to your vehicle that represent any of the height, length, or gross vehicle weight ratings, please update this placard. Let's move to the dash instrument panel. On the left-hand side, you'll find transmission, volts, and oil pressure. On the right, you'll find fuel level, DEF level, front and rear air. In the center, you'll find your speedometer and tachometer. Directly above that, you'll find diagnostic information.
Let's move slightly to the right where you'll find your filter minder. This is for the air filter of your engine. And then moving further to the right, you'll find your rear lockup. Moving down at the very bottom, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with a digital readout. Moving just to the right, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions on this placard from road to pump and also from pump to road. You need 2 green indicators for pump operations. Directly in the center, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Just to the right, you'll find window controls for your electric windows and also door locks. On the very far right, you'll find your regen information. As we move down to the next set of switches, you'll find a red increase or high idle. You'll also find an OK to pump, and then also all of your switches regarding scene lights are located across the very bottom section. Just beneath that, right beside the cup holders, you'll find your climate control. As we move to the dash console, you'll find your pump PTO and also a pump PTO engaged indicator. To the right, you'll find your water tank level indicator, and then just beneath that, you'll find your pressure controller. There is an on-off. There's also information here regarding its operation with an increase or decrease. Moving just to the right, you'll find your auxiliary pump push to prime, and in the upper right-hand corner, you'll find your front bumper turret. Now, as we move to the rear, you'll find map book storage location, but let's move overhead of the operator seat where we'll find storage locations and then also some warning lights and also information on switches. We'll go over those next. First, starting on the left with a deck gun raised indicator, low voltage, and open door indicator. To the right, you'll find your Pierce seatbelt information sign, green indicating someone is in the seat and belted, red indicating that they're in the seat and not belted. As we move to the very bottom section, you'll find all of your emergency master lights. Moving to the right, you'll find your siren control and also PA speaker system. And at the very base of this location, you'll find a red do not move your apparatus if the light is illuminating. Just beneath that, you'll find your rear camera monitoring system. Let's move back out to the passenger area. Once again, at point of entry, you'll find these warning labels affixed to the door panel. Looking to the rear section, you'll find 2 seats on the outer edges. Both of those seats do contain SCBA brackets. Let's move from this side and go back out to the pump panel. So we're at the midship location on the driver's side. We'll start down at the lower portion just under the diamond plated running board. You'll find drains located here on the very bottom section. They are swing handle style. As we move upward from this location, you'll find a placard indicating you have a Watrous pump. This is the placard regarding a 1250 GPM pump. You'll also find all of your swing handle drains located on the right and left-hand side. As we move upward to the minimum operation maintenance schedule, we'll go over that in just a moment. You do have a driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a female inlet and an open and close valve on the right. As we move further to the right of the pump panel, you'll find once again swing handle discharge drains, and then moving further to the right, you'll find your pump drain. This is for the main pump, and then down at the very bottom, you'll find your manual pump shift. Let's move up from this location to the upper left-hand corner where you'll find your 2 discharges. These are both 2.5-inch discharges, number 1 driver side and number 3 passenger side. You'll also find a large diameter pump intake. It's the Pierce logo American flag eagle. As we move to the right, we do have a warning label here regarding do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for possibility of foam failure. You'll also find your 2-position draft tank foam inlet. We'll take a quick look at the pump panel and we'll start first on the left-hand side. These are the 2 gauges just above the discharge drains. This is the passenger side, number 2, and number 1 driver's side discharge. You'll also find the number 3 driver's side discharge. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. You can see on the left is the PSI and on the right is the RPM. We do have a governed speed of 2380. To the right, you'll find your water tank level indicator. And then as we move just to the right of this location, you'll find your number 4 passenger side discharge. You'll also find your tank fill recirculating line and tank to pump. Just above those 2 valves is where you'll find your auxiliary pump primer and primer rear inlet. These are push to prime air activated. Let's move upward from this location where you'll find your driver's rear discharge. It's water and foam capable. As we move to the right, you'll find your engine cooler. That's a twist, not a pull. And then to the right, you'll find your main pump primer. Once again, an air prime, push to prime. There are instructions beneath those primers indicating at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices for priming. Let's move now upward and slightly to the left where you'll find your reel blowout. This is a twist, not a pull. And you'll also find your deluge discharge. In the center of that valve, you'll find a 12-to-1 ratio for opening. You can see the indicator on the inside area. Moving to the left, you'll find your crosslays and also your front discharge. Moving just to the right, we're going to find a rear inlet. This happens to be an electronic valve. You can see it's an Acron, and the instructions will be found in your owner's manual. To the right, you'll find your pressure controller on-off switch and also some information on the placard of that for the LED light status. Above that, you'll find your auxiliary pump PTO. As we move to the right, this red module is your Husky 3 foam system. There's an on and off button in the upper left, foam percentage, increase or decrease, and also a prime. The instructions are located for operations directly on the placard, and to the right, you'll find your foam level indicator. As we move to the right, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. In the upper section, you'll find the pump intake and pump discharge. In the lower section, you'll find the RPM and engine information. Let's move back over to the green mode here, where you'll find either PSI or RPM mode. That's controlled through the mode switch. As we move to the left in red, you'll find an idle switch. This will move your vehicle back to the idle position. And then just beneath that, you'll find a menu button and silence. This allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your throttle pressure governor. In the center in orange is a preset for setting either pressure or RPM. And down at the very bottom, once again, we covered the mode button, either PSI or RPM. On the right, you'll find two yellow indicators, increase or decrease. That's for your throttle. And as we move to the very top section, you'll find an audible alarm at the very top, indicating that you may have a warning. You can dampen the sound by twisting the outer edge of that bezel. Let's move just to the right. We have a set of switches here. I would like to point out there is a pump engaged indicator, and then also at the very top an OK to pump. You can see the various other switches controlling your floodlights for the front, sides, and rear. Let's move from this location. This is the specifications for your Husky 3 foam system placard. Gives you the percentages of foam at max pressure. In the gray area, you'll find your master intake and also master discharge gauge. Just between the two of those, you have the test gauge ports. They currently have plugs in those for vacuum and pressure. Let's take a look just up underneath this location to the light shield, where you'll find in the very center, when engaged properly, this light will illuminate, indicating you're also in the pump mode. To the very rear section of the cab, you'll find your two crosslays located here. Then also your light shield does act as a step. That's why we have a light in this area for gaining access above. To the right-hand side, you can see your three fold-down steps for gaining access just above the light shield. Let's take a look at the body of the vehicle now. First, at the very top, you'll find side-facing floodlights. At the very bottom, in front of and rear of the axle, you'll find your folding wheel chocks. As we move upward in the very first compartment to the rear section of the pump panel, I would like to point out this is your battery charging system. When plugged into shore power, this outlet will be activated. In front of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage location with retaining straps for safety. You'll also find a mid-marker light just beneath that. As we move over the rear axle, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning lights. And then as we move to the rear, you'll find your wheel, once again, Alcoa wheels and Michelin tires. Let's move now to the rear section of the axle. You'll also find additional SCBA bottle storage location with retaining straps. Let's move to the very rear of the axle, where you'll find your folding wheel chock. And as we move up to the top, you can see we have a side-facing flood, and all the way at the very top, a 360-degree emergency warning light to the rear. As we move to the rear of the apparatus, we'll cover the items within this area. First, starting at the very bottom, under the driver's area, is where you'll find your license plate and also perimeter lighting. As we move just to the right, you'll find that drop-down step, and then also a rear suction drain for that inlet in the rear. We'll talk about that in a moment. On the left and right, you'll find at the very top emergency light, brake, turn, and reverse lights. You'll also find cup switch, which will turn on your rear scene lights and also hose bed lights. You can see there are fold down steps located on the right and left hand side of the notch in the rear, and also safety warning placards regarding a specific area where you should stand. At the very top, you'll find your emergency warning lights, and also some placards here regarding that you shouldn't ride on the rear of the apparatus, entanglement hazard, and also fall injury. Once again, this is your rear inlet. This was that swing valve down at the very bottom, which allows it to drain. And then just underneath that, you'll find a pull-out tray. The release mechanism for that is on the lower right-hand side. Let's move directly above this location of your rear roll-up compartment door. This is where you're going to find your backup camera in the center. And in the left of the image, which is the driver's side, you'll find your rear discharge. Just a quick look at the fold-down steps here. Just above this location is where you'll find your ground ladders. We have a 24-foot extension, a 14-foot roof, and also a 10-foot attic ladder at the very top. You also have the ability to house 2 long pike poles located in the upper left-hand corner. As we move to the hose bed, you can see there are 2 hose bed dividers located in the center section just to the left. And you'll also find at the very front section your water tank fill location. We'll go over those items in a moment too. In the very far right, you'll find your trays for your suction hoses. Just a quick view of the rear and side of the apparatus. Let's now move to the passenger side of the vehicle. First, starting with the very top section, you have 2 side-facing floodlights. We'll also move into the compartments now. At the very top section where the arrow is indicating, we do have, when plugged into shore power, this outlet will activate. Let's move down to the base of this compartment where you do have a pull-out tray. Once again, the release mechanism for that tray is on the lower right-hand side. As we move to the rear axle area, you'll find SCBA bottle storage location here with a lift and turn latch. As we look inside, you can see that there are 2 SCBA bottles and also an oxygen bottle and retaining straps. Just over the rear axle, you'll find that side-facing emergency warning light. As we look down to the very bottom where the wheel is located, aluminum wheels and Alcoa Michelin tires. Moving just to the front of this location, you'll find this warning label, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle. You'll also find just above the marker light SCBA bottle storage location with retaining straps. As we move to the forward section, you'll find 3 fold-down steps to gain access to the top of your vehicle. And then at the very top, you'll find a step that has a light for the light shield area. As we move to the very bottom section of the apparatus, you'll find once again a swing valve for a drain, and then you'll also see one that says do not cap. This is for your tank to pump. Let's move up from this location to the panel where you'll find all of your discharge drains. They're color-coded and labeled. You have a combination of swing and also turn. You'll also find a placard here in the middle regarding warning. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment only after they've received proper training. In the upper left, you'll find your intake relief valve, and then you'll find a large diameter intake. It's the Pierce American Flag Eagle. It is currently capped. We do have 2 discharges on this side. They're both 2.5 and clearly marked. You can see they have green and orange indicators. Down in the lower right, you'll find your auxiliary foam functions. That's also capped currently in this position. Next up, you'll find a access panel door. There's one at the top and also one at the lower section for gaining access behind the panel area. As we move upward from this location, you'll find that step area and also cross lays and grab handle. Let's move now to the cab of the vehicle, where you'll find on the passenger side your booster line or red line. Located also, you'll find all of your entry points have grab handles with keyed locks, and then also grab handles for gaining access for in and out of the vehicle. Let's move down to the rear step area, which does contain your booster line. Located inside that is your red line. On the left-hand side of this image, you'll find your push button for the reel rewind. On the opposite side of that push button is where you'll find the tensioning knob for free spool or tighten. Let's move now to the cab area. Once again, affixed to the door labels, you'll find those warning labels, once again, at all points of entry. Just a quick look to the rear area, you'll find the 2 seats and also SCBA packs located within those seats. As we move underneath those seats, we do have additional storage locations. Let's move now to the front of the vehicle, officer side. Once again, warning labels affixed to the door panel, and then also a slip or warning hazard for fall as you gain entry into the cab. There are a variety of different step lights. Located here, you can see the undercab step lights, and there are also ground lights just underneath this location. As we move inside, I would like to point out toward the center of the dash area, this is where you'll find your vehicle data recorder and also an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to turn to dampen the sound. This is the front dash for the officer area. As we move to the seat, you can see it does have the SCBA bracket within it. And then as we move now to the front section of the apparatus, looking from the passenger seat to the very center area is where you're going to find your red "Do Not Move Your Apparatus" if this light is illuminating, indicating you have an open door or compartment. Congratulations, Pleasant Hill Goshen Rural Fire Protection District, on your new Pierce Fire apparatus. If you have any questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.